All right, no need to you know, procrastinate on any of this. You've already watched the last video, and if you haven't, shame on you. Go and watch it. But we're coming back and we're doing a little bit more of this kind of situational leadership and like the ways in which people are motivated and that they are also competent. And so in the previous video, we went over a lot of the ways that people are motivated, looking at McClelland and Theory X and Theory Y. And then I went into situational leadership, which is actually introducing more of the competency. So maybe I should have actually done that in this bit, but I didn't, but we keep on going. So, consciousness, it's a crazy thing. And the thing about learning new things is that one of the ways we can divide up reality is to think that there are 4 types of consciousnesses that you can have towards something. So there's unconscious incompetence. So unconscious incompetence. And this is when you're starting something out. This is maybe even before you've even started something out, and you're thinking to yourself, like, you don't even know that you don't know something. You're unconscious of your incompetency in that area. This is when you, I don't know, like you go to Nando's and you eat Nando's and you eat the lemon and herb, and then you think to yourself, yeah, I can handle spice. That's that kind of idea that you don't even know what you're incompetent in. And then you move to conscious incompetence. Maybe I should actually type this out, to be fair. So I'll do actually I'll just do con and I'll do comp, because I hope you can understand those. Copy and paste. We're doing this live. How are your days going? I hope they're doing well. I hope you're having a nice time. Can you even see this? You can't even see it because my thing's in the way. All right. There we go. I'll just put that. I'll put that like that. Changing everything around here. And then we'll do another one. And then we'll get to the other ones. So yeah, so we move into this part here, which is where we start to become conscious of our incompetence. That's where we go. That's when we go to another restaurant and we go, oh, actually I'm not very good at handling spice. I didn't even know what spice was. I was incompetent in that knowledge field. And this might be, again, it might be when like you're training a martial art, or you're painting, or you're learning about an artist's discography, or you're learning a new subject entirely. All of this can be applied to all of this. This is where we thought that we had a good idea about how it was, and then we actually start exploring it, and we realize we actually know nothing about this thing that we're actually starting to go into. And then we move to well, it takes forever, but we move to conscious competence. So that's when we actually finally start getting good at what we're doing. We we're like we do the repetition, we learn more about the artist's discography, we practice the martial art, and the practices become muscle. Well, we know what they are when we're going through the motions of each one. And or it could be that we start getting good at understanding how paintings work, or we start to develop our knowledge areas in all of the various areas of a certain subject. And then eventually we actually return back to the unconscious. All things come in and out of the unconscious, and we go to unconscious competence. So this isn't actually, this is especially when, you hear all those like kind of voodoo things by like martial artists where they're like, and you realize you weren't even doing anything in the moment, and like the world shaped you to do what you did, and all of this stuff. It could also be, how you learn how to ride a bike and you don't even think about what you're doing. Or it could also be how you learn to talk as well. I'm not consciously trying to articulate what I'm saying, I'm just doing it. And so this is not only kind of links to like more kind of spiritual practices and kind of explains them in that way, that like, when you just intuit something, or you don't even realize you're doing something, but you do it. This is when it becomes unconscious, but because you've done it so many times, you're just competent at it. This is like being able to talk while driving, or being able to just pick up your bike and not have to even think about what you're doing. And it's fantastic. So, and the reason why I'm even telling you about all this is because you can then understand your own self better, and you can understand your own learning. When you apply this to yourself, you can think to yourself, okay, well, no, at the moment, okay, I'm stuck in this stage, but with enough repetitions, with enough practice, with enough looking at things in different ways and understanding the patterns, I can get competent. And it also then allows you to just move more freely in all these kind of things. And it also allows you to not have resentment or hatred towards yourself, thinking that like, oh, I can't do this, oh, I can't believe it. If you understand this, then you understand that you are a process just like everything else, and like with processes, they have starts and ends, and you don't have to like, wait, no, what am I even trying to say here? Basically, you don't have to think that you're going to be ever stuck in just this one situation, because you're going to be able to grow, and you're going to be able to eventually become to this stage. I mean, arguably, maybe you won't, maybe you'll give up on it, or maybe it just, it won't be seen as a thing that's possible, or, well, not necessarily possible, but like it might be a waste of time. But it is to kind of put that hope in you that, actually, no, I can get better at this. And it's also to better understand how you are in each of those sections. You could think to yourself when you're really muddling up about something, you can go, okay, well, I'm now in the conscious incompetency, but that's okay, like I've moved up a step. It's better than what I was. And again, you can apply this to groups as well. If you can expect this and think this, then you can understand why people may be arrogant about a certain thing. And then you'll be able to predict how they will fail at certain things, and you won't be annoyed at them because you already expected it to happen. And yet you just be able to better deal with people. And you can do this with anyone, with any knowledge field, and kind of use this. So it could be like a child, or it could be a new team member. And you can also see how it kind of links to the situational leadership as well. It's about here they're really unconscious about what they're doing, and they're incompetent, and so you need to tell them, and then they'll actually stumble and trip, and they'll realize they're not very good, and then you need to coach them, and that's where you up them around, and you go, no, you can do this, you've got this, and so they become unconscious, they become conscious incompetent, and then they move into conscious competence, where you go, where you support them. You go, hey, no, you've got this, but do you need me to help with anything? Because there might be still like little bits here and there. And then eventually you can just delegate it to them, and you can kind of become unconscious in their competence, if that makes sense. And they will be eventually unconscious competence. So that's why that one's really helpful as well. It's a really helpful model to understand yourself through and to understand others through. At least that's what I think anyway. And we could talk about Kolb, and we could talk about Honey and Mulford and their work that they did on Kolb stuff. Kolb stuff is more towards how you approach learning, and admittedly, to be honest, I don't really know enough to be able to say anything valid about it. But it is something that does interest me, because I want to try and identify what thing motivates me the most as well in those situations. Also, yeah, like as a side note, coming back to Clayland from last week as well, what I like to do with a lot of these theories, like, you know, essentially these are just like BuzzFeed quizzes. These are like, what kind of thingamajig are you? What kind of learning do you like? You know, it's kind of fun ways of being able to kind of engage in these little tasks to go, oh, so I'm that thing. But I also like to do this in thinking about how I can apply this to my friends. You know, what are the things that motivate my friends a lot? Because if I can then do that, then I can give them a better, you know, present, or I can, you know, for their birthdays and stuff, and like I can fulfill what motivates them more in their life as well. But finally, we'll come to Bloom. Now, Bloom has a taxonomy of, I don't really know what you'd call it, maybe it's mastery, but I found this stuff really interesting as well, because this is very similar to the consciousness as well, but this is about like your stages of mastery, and kind of, if you look at this, then you can understand how well you know different subjects, and therefore you know if you need to like learn more about them, or if you know, if you're doing pretty well. And you can also then, like, this can also be applied to your work colleagues and stuff, or, you know, insert whatever situation you want to put it into. But he essentially said, and the pyramid that I've followed is slightly different from this, but this is, but I've kind of only put in my own words because it means like it's better for me. And so if you type in Bloom's taxonomy, it will come up with something really similar to this, and I very much encourage you to go and look at them, because I could be wrong in my interpretation, but I do believe in my interpretation enough to be able to share it. And I think that I'm fairly good at articulating these things, and I hope you do as well. I hope you're gaining that. Like and subscribe if so. But your first stage is, you're gonna, with that body of knowledge, whether this be physical through like carrying out a task in your workplace, or whether this be in a martial art, whether this be learning to ride a bike, whether this be reciting verses of the Quran or verses of the Bible, or remembering about a particular formula on a quiz. The first stage is, can you repeat it? And this is related to remembering, but yeah, can you just like, is it there for you to remember, and is it there for you to be able to repeat? If you can repeat it, congratulations, you're past the first stage of your way to becoming a master in that thing. The next thing, so yeah, that might be, can you repeat the punch in the martial arts? Can you repeat the cycling motion? Can you repeat that verse from the Quran? Can you repeat the way that person painted that color? Maybe, I don't know. Your next stage is to understand, which I also put down as identify, because I think it kind of, understand to me seems a little bit vague, but I think it's identify, which is, okay, in this situation, can you identify when the action happens? you know, can you just notice that this thing has happened? Like with the punch, can you notice that the punch has just happened? Can you notice that this, I know, this other Bible verse was quoted or something in a context of like understanding larger situations, like the larger Bible in general, perhaps? It could be, can you identify when the dishwasher needs stacking at your workplace, potentially? And then, can you apply what you've just learned? Like, so I guess these kind of ones are kind of, they're almost like kind of linked up together in the way I see it. And it's kind of like applying is, okay, like actually go and do that thing. So can you notice when the situation needs you to do that punch, for instance, in the martial art? You know, if your opponent throws a certain thing, can you notice that you maybe need to apply this thing that you've been repeating and identifying? Can you then apply it? Can you apply your knowledge and understanding of when the queue dips down at your cafe job, that this is probably the best time to now start doing the washing of the dishes, because then they, like, once it gets busy again, they can be used again? Can you notice, can you repeat, so in the case of my project management course, can I repeat that of what theory X and theory Y are? Yes, I can. You saw me do that. Can I understand it? Can I identify it? Yes, yeah, I gave you examples in real life of this theory or this thing that I was just describing to you being there. I did, like, for instance, with the Thomas Hobbes and the Jean-Jacques Rousseau ideas. Can I apply it? Which is, can I actually just do that? Yes, I can. And can I recognize as well? Yeah, can I recognize this? I put more so in the sense of, can you recognize it in other contexts as well? Like, not just that one specific example. And this is where you see that pattern that you've just been repeating and learning and understanding. And this is when you then can see it in not just like very similar situations, but in like completely opposite different situations. And then, can you evaluate, which I put down as, can you compare? And that's like, can you see how effective this thing is, this pattern that you've been learning, in this situation? Can you compare it to other patterns that you've been learning to see if it's the right thing for the situation? So this might be, in the case of the martial artist, this might be, okay, yeah, like I can repeat the punch, I can identify like what it is, I can actually do the punch, and I can recognize that this is a situation where I can do it. But is this the right pattern that I should do right now, or is a kick the right one that I should do? Yes, I can repeat theory X, and I can understand it, and I can identify, and I could even put in into position, and I can understand that this is a different situation. But is it probably the best thing for me to do here? And so that's when you kind of take hold and you understand it all, but then you also understand if should you use it right now? Is this the right time for you to use it? You know it can apply here, because that's kind of what recognizing is. But you think to yourself, but is it the best thing to do, or are there other ways that I could do this thing? And then create, from my understanding, creating is when you take that pattern that you've been learning and you look at what it's comprised of, and then you decide to either take away things to make it into a new structure, or you add things to it to make it a different type of structure. So in this example, it might be something like, let's say you're painting a picture. Can you repeat the ways of illustrating an apple? Yes, okay, I can do that. Can I identify that like action? Yeah, like I can do that. Can I apply it? Yes, I can. And like so, and then, but is the technique I'm using right now the best way of illustrating the apple in the way that I want to? I don't know. Maybe different ways. But then the higher part of that is to then understand various other components of like, maybe, I don't know, the brush technique or the hardness or other things, and maybe even to then start combining things from outside of your field to inspire you. Now, admittedly, I don't think I've done a very good job of explaining these ones. I hope that I can do a better job another time, but I hope you can kind of see what I mean as well. And it's this idea that, like, for instance, I don't know, you get good at cycling and you can evaluate when are the best times to brake and stop and do things. But then, and so you notice all the practices that go into riding a bike. There's the cycling, there's the balancing, there's the weight distribution. And you ask yourself, creating is essentially, okay, what if I was to change one of these variables? What if I was to like put more weight on the back wheel from the front, and then you've created a wheelie? Or I don't know, it could be in cooking, where you understand when it's best used certain ingredients and flavors and how things work together. And then you then think to yourself, okay, usually we put tomato pasta with the we put tomato sauce with the pasta, but what if I was to like do something different to the tomatoes? What if I was to do something different to the pasta? And it's about taking a component within that thing that you're studying and tweaking it, taking away something, adding something to it, or just like changing how it is. I know I've been like, this is the, and this is, you know, this is how people evolve different techniques. They go, okay, well, you know, like, yeah, like, I can't really give any good examples, to be honest. I'm sorry about that, but I hope you can see this in your own life. You might be able to see this in what you do. It might be cooking, it might be like different techniques that, I don't know, runners come up with. At the gym, it might be different techniques that people use to build muscle in different areas. The create aspect might be, okay, so I know that like this technique, this way of like contorting my muscles in this pose is best for, like, I don't know, gaining mass in my bicep. But I also actually want to also gain muscle in my wrist while I'm doing that. And then from that, you can then create your own new technique. And so I think that these are also really helpful because these can show you how much of a master you are in that area. And yeah, essentially, like, I can't really think of any other utility for that. It's just a really good way of being able to understand where you are, and also what are the kind of things that the people above you are doing that make them better at kind of what they're doing than you are, or maybe not necessarily better, but like, you know, what are the things that they are doing that allows them to be in the position that they're in, and maybe that you're constrained to the position that you're in, if you're constrained or if you aren't. So yeah, again, just like the other stuff, it's a theory that you can use, but you don't have to follow it. It's just a helpful and interesting thing, if it is for you. But yeah, so I'll leave you guys to it. I hope this was helpful and beneficial, and yeah, good to see you in the next video. Love you.